Welcome back, Fragrance family. Thanks for joining me here on my channel once again. Stephen Sturgill. I'll be your host for the next few minutes, maybe several. We'll see. I warned you last night, guys, that, or give you a heads up, or other warning sounds dire, that we'd most likely be looking at Parfums de Marly, Godolphin. And that is exactly what we're doing today or tonight, whatever time it is, wherever you are. It's nighttime here. This is I think about a 10 or 11 mils decant from a very trusted online source, Parfums de Marly, Godolphin, and they're kind enough to give an actual sort of like a scan of the actual official, title or whatever you want to call it, sticker, bottle, whatever. So it looks rather official, which is a nice touch. Anyways, that matters not. Let's get into the scent. Man, this thing is potent, potenza in Italian, or potency. It's very, very strong. Just, right out of that tiny pinhole nozzle, you can already smell it, and that's either a good thing or kind of scary. So let's get into it. When did this fragrance drop? Let's see. Back in 2010 is when it was launched. Nose behind it is Michel Saramito. We'll get into some fragrances that Michel has designed in just a few minutes. But first, let's talk about the fragrance itself. I'm going to go so far as to say that, no. First, the notes. Okay, we'll get into Here we go. You're going to get opulent rose note. I'm not the biggest rose guy, as a lot of you know, but I don't mind if it's a component in a fragrance, as long as in general it's not just so rose centric that's pretty much the whole theme is rose. And that's not for me. I'm not knocking any of you guys out there that want to rock that. That's all you. Be proud of it, but it's not my personal preference. Then it leads to a woody leather scent base. In a note in a minute or so on the leather. Top notes are thyme or thyme, however you want to say it. I think thyme is the generally accepted practice. Saffron, cypress, green notes, whatever that means. Fruity notes, whatever that means. And mate, which is, I believe, sort of an herbal type tea plant grown in South and Central America to some extent. I don't know where it's native, but I believe that's the general area where it's known to be harvested and cultivated. Okay, so rose, iris, and jasmine are in the heart. Now we come to the very, very powerful base: leather, vetiver, cedar, musk, amber, and finally, yes, of course, the ever so ebullient and popular vanilla. Okay, maybe vanilla's not ebullient, but whatever. It just sounded good to say it. I don't know if there's officially different sizes available. All I've ever seen really is the 125 mils. Very fancy gold and pimped out bottle, if I may say so. And it's an EDT. At least that's what's listed on Fragrantica or Fragrantica. I don't know about that. I thought it was perfume strength, but let me check the official website for a sec, and I will be able to tell you guys, is it really an EDT? Okay. Oh, that's not the site. Let's see. There we go. Yeah, I don't personally think Parfums de Marly makes any eau de toilette. I could be wrong, but I think that's a Fragrantica or Fragrantica typo or mistake. I really, really don't think they make any EDTs, to my knowledge. I think they're a little bit classier than that. Not that there aren't a lot of good EDTs out there. There certainly are, but man, if you're going $2.90 a bottle, it better be perfume, bro. That's all I can say. Seriously, I'm not going to shell out $290 for anybody's EDT. I don't care who they are and how good the scent is. Okay, I say that now. Probably some mastermind of evil perfume skills is going to come out with the world's greatest EDT, and he'll charge $290 or more, and I'll be a sucker, and I'll probably end up buying it, but hopefully not. Okay, let's see. Let me just open a tab real quick. I'm going to go ahead and spray some on just for a second here. And I've already worn this. This was my scent of the day the other day. And wow. So let's talk about the leather for a second. The leather combining, I think, primarily with the saffron and the cypress, and to no small extent, the rose, iris, and jasmine. Certainly the thyme and the green notes and the fruity notes and the musk and the amber and the vanilla all obviously come into play. So I'm not suggesting for a second that those don't, but I would say that that leather is combining very, very, in a very heady, very powerful, musky, animalic way with the musk, which is quite animalic, I must say, with the leather, which also, again, is quite animalic. Semi-dirty vetiver. It's blending with that spicy saffron quite a bit, and the cedar also lending that spicy, dry, woody effect. And again, then you are indeed getting a pretty strong dose of that creaminess, that creamy, ebullient, or effusive rose, iris, and jasmine. The vanilla, I think, comes out more so on the dry down, in my experience, although I can detect just a hint. Yeah, I mean, it's there clearly, but I think it comes out much more clearly in the deep dry down. Fruity notes and the green notes are definitely there, along with the thyme. Pretty much right there on the top, along with that mate. But again, all of that, I'm not at all claiming to smell like individual facets of those. I just kind of smell all of that as a concoction. But I will tell you that there's just the mildest, don't take this the wrong way, but to me, the leather and the musk or whatever is in there, there's just the mildest tinge of a soft, light fecal note in there. And don't be alarmed. That's quite common and popular with really, really well-sourced and heavy leather oils, or heavy oils that are giving the leather a chord, along with musks, certainly. And just the combination of some of these elements, I think, is lending somewhat to that note. But all in all, it's very animalic. I mean, yeah, this is, if you don't know the story about Godolphin, I'm sure you probably do. I don't want to bore you to death on that, but in all fairness, so you can go to their website at Marley Boutique USA or wherever other country you're at. Just do a Google search or type in your country, Marley Boutique, I don't know, FR for France or whoever, whatever. I don't know why. If you're in France, I don't know why you'd be watching me. In English, give my 2 cents, but whatever. Hopefully, maybe you are. But Godolphin the Arabian was also known as Godolphin Barb, and he was an Arabian horse, one of the 3 stallions considered. And I don't know if this is mythological or all accurate. It makes for great story, air quotes, history. And hopefully it's true, that were the founders of the modern thoroughbred horse racing scene or lineage. So again, this fragrance is inspired by this iconic Arabic stallion, Godolphin, the royal ancestor of today's pedigree horse racing champions. This distinguished scent is composed of complex and deep aromas, which are artfully blended together to create a uniquely sophisticated and masculine experience. And that brings me to another point. Yes, this is pretty much, for the most part, a man-only fragrance. This is extremely masculine. Probably some tough woman out there, or very strong, independently strong-minded woman could probably pull this off, based on the fact that it has a lot of floral componentry to it, as you know, in the rose, orris, and jasmine. It also has the amber and the vanilla component. A lot of you ladies out there are rocking leather scents to some extent. And probably lastly, but not leastly, on a woman's pH, on her skin, due to her pH balance, it will probably come off a little bit more feminine, if that makes any kind of sense. But I do think this is pretty much just far and away an extremely masculine scent. Now, although you do get the rose and the orris and the jasmine quite prominently, you're also getting, again, a massive dose of woods in that cedar wood, that herbaceous sort of sweet gray smell that vetiver tends to evoke. You are getting a really strong but somewhat quite refined animalic leather and a semi-animalic musk. Also fairly well refined, a little bit raw, a little bit not that subtle. And the amber component, there's quite a bit there, but not as much as perhaps. I'm glad they didn't go overboard. I'm not a huge fan of amber. And again, I personally associate overdoses of amber with heavily feminine or female perfumes. It's very popular in ladies' perfumes, and for good reason. It gives kind of a shimmery, sparkly, almost Coco Chanel vibe, along with other things like ISO E Super and older. I forget. There's a big one that Chanel created years ago. But at any rate, and of course, vanilla is ever ubiquitous now in almost all the scents. I don't care if they're male, female, or unisex, or metrosexual, whatever you're going to call it. So I would say in closing, this is a very powerful yet refined, masculine, woody, very leathery, somewhat spicy type scent. And yes, it does have a strong floral component to it in the jasmine orris root or orris flower. I'm not sure which it is. And then the rose, certainly. And it stays animalic, it stays leathery, it stays musky. There is that amber vanilla component, and there's other things going on there, like the woods and the fruity and the green notes. And there is that mate sort of herbal aspect or dimension to the smell. And I would say, all in all, it has a little bit of a refined dirtiness to it, if that makes any sense. You know, it's not a light, clean, aquatic, fresh, nor is it even a fresh green, gray vetiver type only smell. This has quite a bit of spice. It's very pungent, quite animalic, although I wouldn't say overly so. I want to caution viewers out there. I'm not saying this is the most animalic scent I've ever smelled, because it is certainly not, but it is still very up there and high on the scale of animalic fragrances. You know, it's not the Thanos Hulk of leather-based nor animalic fragrances, but again, those components are very pronounced here, if that makes sense. And I would say it's very artfully blended. Smells expensive. It smells couture. It smells boutique. It definitely smells niche. And there really is no designer scent out there, with maybe some exception of the likes of like a John Varvatos or Varvados. Hey, hi, MS. Yeah, I'm working on that. I'm still not. What happens is that when I switch from my heads up shout out, the YouTube, what do you call it? Layout, it wants me to go through this other system that I'm not set up for, and then I have to go back in and redo everything. It's just rather bizarre. I would really like for them to simplify that, but hopefully in time I'll get more caught up with stuff like that, or use other technologies. At any rate, the John Varvatos. John Varvatos Oud is maybe one of the only designer frags out there that kind of, in a weird way, pretty much does what Godolphin does, albeit strictly more through an oud an oud lane, in an oud, a very obviously pronounced oud lane, if that makes sense. This does not obviously only have oud in it, but that's the entire theme of that fragrance. And I would say that, and I'm not a huge fan of Varvatos at all, but I think that one got it right for the most part. Got it really, really right. And it's heady, it's pungent, it's refined, it's layered, has lots of dimension and body to it. It tells a story, and somehow through it all, it's at the same time very true to the Middle East theme, which I think also Godolphin is certainly, or in this case, Arabia or Persia or whichever one of those you want to sort of romantically associate with. But yeah, I mean, it would be Saudi Arabia for the most. What am I saying? Not Persia, but at any rate, yeah. I just think, of course, when you're talking about Parfums, the Marley, you expect niche and you pay for it. Whereas with something like a Varvatos, what is that, Royal Oud or whatever he called this thing, just oud. It's a very fancy, heavy bottle, one of the nicer bottles on the market. If you don't have it, guys, I highly recommend it. If you like oud-based fragrances, if you don't, steer clear. Yeah, absolutely. MS Biteth or Mr. Bitcoin writes that Owajan is, yeah, it is really, really fine for sure. I do have a decant of Owajan as well, and it is, oh, Mike, yeah, it is absolutely excellent for sure. And that's what I like, guys, about Parfums de Marly. I think that their DNA, their DNA is it's very evident and pretty much across their entire lineup. Now, I'm one of the late guys to the party, especially when it comes to the new Percival. I have not gotten, yeah, I've also got Carlisle. It is phenomenal, but I've not yet tried Percival, so that will definitely be on my very, very next to-do list radar. I'm only hearing great things about it. I recently watched Carlos's Brooklyn Fragrance Lover, and he had the lovely Stephanie on recently. Great to see you back, Stephanie. You need to come back on Carlos's show. You should even consider, if you want, starting your own channel. I would definitely tune in and be a subscriber and watch you, and I'm sure thousands and thousands of other people would as well. She's just a lot of fun to watch. She has a really good nose, along with Carlos, of course. And Carlos is just so genuine, laid back, and relaxed. I'm trying to urge him to consider slightly longer, I should say considerably longer reviews, because a lot of his are really, really short. They're like in the 2 to 4 minute range. And at least for the research that I've done and for friends of mine that are much way ahead of me, more expert level users on the YouTube platform, their algorithm has changed, and they're not necessarily, it's not as easy to tag and bag the success of really tiny videos as it is longer videos, because they're looking at longer retention times per video is what I have read online, and I could be wrong. That's what I'm understanding. Don't blame me. I'm not the bad guy here. This is YouTube talking, not me. But at any rate, I digress. Point being, and having said all that, is that Carlos really, really enjoyed Percival. Stephanie absolutely loved it. She picked it as her number 2. I think he had either 8 or 10 fragrances, and I think the new gray, is it YSL or gray or Dior? I forget, one of those main designer houses. They have a new one called Gray. Obviously, it's vetiver intense. It's very, very vetiver based. She picked that as her 3rd best, very high out of a best of 10 or whatever it was, or even 8. But she picked, strangely enough, one that I didn't personally care for, my bad, which was Wood Essence by the House of Bulgari. Yeah, it's spelled, Mike writes for MSB Teth that he doesn't know what gray is. They're spelling it with Grey, I believe, and it's supposed to be one of the newest vetiver-based scents on the market. It's one of the main designer houses. I forget, YSL or one of those guys. That hasn't been on my radar, and I apologize if I got that wrong, but I have given you the title correctly. It's supposed to be excellent. But it brings me back to my last point, and that is the fact that they almost all the reviewers, nearly universal, are just praising the heck out of Percival. So I really want to get my nose on it. It's supposed to be a freshy kind of a thing, almost. I don't know if it's aquatic or semi-aquatic. Dream hippie. Oh, very cool. Okay, I'll check that out if I can, Mike. That sounds interesting. But at any rate, guys, I mean, I'm just going to end with this. I mean, when we spend $290 and up on a full bottle, or even if we luck out and we find the one for between $220 and $250 on a designer, I mean, on a discounter website, if you're not Mr. Moneybags, it really is kind of making quite a reach, quite a stretch, let me say, to dole out north of 180 quid if you're in Britain, you know, or whatever amount it is over there for you, 200 quid in some cases. That's a lot of scratch. It's a lot of money, and and at the same time, let's put it another way though. If you have a halfway decent job, or you're really good at saving money, come on, you could save up for a month or two, or even a year, God forbid, if you have to, and finally make the purchase and not feel terrible about it, right? And once you get the bottle, it's going to last you probably 3 to 5 years easily, as long as you're not just using that, you know, like crazy daily. That should really, really last you a while, you know, quite a while, 3 to 5 years, maybe longer if you have a huge rotation and don't just go goo goo gaga with it only. It should maybe last you 7 to 10 years, right? Carlos, hey, ¿qué tal? Hola, Carlos Colom just joined in. Good to see you there, amigo. Yeah, we've been talking about Godolphin, Parfums de Marly. Muy bien, hermano. And this is just such an excellent fragrance. I'll just end on this note, and I'm sorry to not give a shout out to you guys, but and if you have any suggestions or you want to ask me any quick questions about fragrances, feel free to absolutely ask me real quick. And if I have time, or I feel I can answer that question in a frank, realistic timeline manner, then I certainly will. But Godolphin, guys, is easily one of the better fragrances. Not that I think pretty much all of the Parfums de Marly, maybe with some small exception, are just simply, they're between very good to simply astronomically phenomenal. And this is easily one of the better fragrances that I can absolutely wholeheartedly recommend that you get your nose on. For those few of you left out there that haven't come to the Parfums de Marly house, please get your nose on Godolphin, on Carlisle, on Owajon, on Percival. I mean, the whole line is simply stunningly spectacular. Yeah, this is just, I'm going to spray one more just because it smells so good. Boom. Okay, two more. Wow, guys. Yeah, latent. That's really a cool one, latent exclusive. The fragrance here, it's just so heady and rich, spicy, fragrant, creamy, effusive, animalic. That leather is rich. I mean, you picture the stallion, you picture the sweat coming off the horse, you picture the sheen, you know, of that musculature that horses have. That saddle that has a certain smell of creamy, rich leather that's been aged or tanned, you know, with those tannins and in the sunlight. And I think, along with romantic images of ancient Arabia, you know, Saudi, like Arabian Nights and all that, you will, of course, smell things like orris and jasmine and rose. These are things that were endemic and natural in many cases to the terrain, to the land. Or certainly, if they weren't, they were brought in from areas like Turkey and Bulgaria, where roses are native, as I understand it. And then you get these other things like the mate and the green notes, the fruity notes is something that I would picture out of the Middle East, Middle Eastern type fruits and things like that. It's just, it's so rich. There's so much dimension to most of Parfums de Marly's lineup that it's just crazy. I think they're doing nearly everything, either from very right on the money to almost nearly perfectly. I really, really do believe that they're marketed so spectacularly. The bottles are absolutely, I don't have one right here, are absolutely gorgeous. They're just absolutely pretty much works of art. They're very, very heavy. Other bottles that I have that are extremely heavy, for example, would be this bottle by Mercedes-Benz. This is their Le Parfum. This bottle, guys, if it fell off the Empire State Building, would easily kill at least one person if it hit them, maybe several. Not to be graphically morbid or anything. This is like a serious, serious desk weight. I mean, this thing has, if you've never held a Mercedes-Benz bottle like this, it's extremely dense. That's kind of the weight of the Parfums de Marly lineup. It's kind of, this is maybe not quite as heavy as the Mercedes-Benz bottle. It's hard to tell because of the dimensions. It's so much wider. But this is absolutely not a lightweight bottle either. Another good heavyweight. This is pretty heavy. The Perry Ellis Oud Black Vanilla Absolute. And guys, you can trash on this all you want, but for a budget frag, I'm going to just spray a little bit on my right hand. Yes, it's synthetic. We all know that. But once you get right out of the opening, honestly, and it's a little sweet and it's a little syrupy, but honestly, the as it opens up and begins to dry down, it's pretty darn good, honestly, especially for the money. This is absolutely a cherry of a gem for the money. And going in, of course, understanding, yes, you are getting something more synthetic. Without a doubt, this is very synthetic. And it's probably overly sweet and a little bit catty. But I do think that as it dries down and opens up, it really, really improves a lot. And it would almost smell like niche in the dry down. A hell of a budget buy. These bottles are not that heavy, but they're cute. Again, they're designed to look like key fobs, and these are some pretty decent scents. This is the Mercedes-Benz Club Extreme. You might want to get your nose on this as well. Pretty good stuff. OBV. Oh, yes. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Yeah, they are. Yeah, Mancera's bottles are. Yeah, Mike is right as well. Mancera's bottles are indeed very heavy as well. And okay, well, that's gonna do it, guys. I'm starting to kind of zone out. It's been a hell of a long day for me. Yes, yeah, Oud Black Vanilla, indeed. That's gonna do it. I've got some other perfumes coming up on our to-do list that we'll take a look at together, hopefully. And we'll look at some really, really good stuff as well in the future. I've got one coming up that it gets a lot of sort of critical praise, but I personally wasn't that impressed. I want to give it one more chance before I pull the trigger on that review. I'll keep you guys in the dark for now. I don't want to spoil the surprise. It's nothing big, but it's something that's started to come into some of our fellow reviewers' radars, and it's kind of not that well known to a point. We'll take a look at that, and then I'll get some feedback from you guys. Maybe some of you have it. Maybe some of you don't. Maybe some of you have already used it, and yada, yada. We'll figure that out. Oh, yeah. Okay. Rich Mess. Yeah, I've heard about it. That's one that's very, very divisive. Some small contingent are just like head over heels in love with it. And a lot of the other mass populace just wants to run and hide from Rich Mess. They don't ever want to revisit it or see it or smell it again as long as they live. But I don't know. We'll see. I haven't smelled it, so I can't talk. Thank you all about fragrance. Nice live. Thank you so much. Okay. Oh wow, 159. Okay. Yeah, Mike says he spent 159 for Rich Mess. We'll call it 160. Woefully bad and brand new. Okay, well, I'm sorry to hear that, Mike. Yeah, I had read a lot of negative, sort of scary, disgusting reviews online. You never know if you can fully trust those. Obviously, we all have different tastes, but the reviews seem so extreme and polarizing that I kind of didn't want to get my toes wet on that one. I've smelled several from Diptyque, but I'm not sure. I cannot tell you honestly whether I've smelled Eau d'Oeil or not. I know I've smelled at least 3 by the house, if not 4. Not sure. Yeah, honestly. EDP. Okay. Love Oud Paloa. Very cool. I've never smelled Oud Paloa. If you can give me a link or whatever, I'll be glad to look that up. I mean, I can Google the name obviously anyway, but yeah, we can work something out. Very cool. Any other questions, guys? Or we're going to have to call it a night here. Again, I want to thank you guys for joining me here in such, well, really no notice. I hope you got the red dot in your YouTube app. At least you could find that I was on live. Impression. Okay. Yeah, I'll check that out for sure. All about fragrance. Yeah, I love first impressions. I also love afterthoughts or second revisits where you've worn it and can come away with, but I do a lot of first impressions myself, so I totally get it. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up. Thank you so much for joining me here tonight. I've gone way over my planned time limit once again, and I've rambled on quite a bit, but lives are fun for sure. We get to bounce ideas back and forth. Very cool. I'll check your full review out as well. All about fragrance. Very cool. All right, guys, that's going to do it. I will get with some of you after the show has released down the road, and we can go back and forth and maybe work some stuff out. And I will see you next time. Spray often, spray well. Before I forget, get your nose on Godolphin. That was what this review was supposed to be about, and I hope I touched enough on the major talking points of this. And you know what? I'm going to spray 2 more just because I can. And it smells so fantastic. Get your nose on this. Buy a decant, buy a bottle. Pull the trigger. And I will see you next time. Peace. Love you guys. I'm out.